Hey there, welcome back to Limabean Crafting. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing the Monvict hot glue gun, and I will be giving you guys a discount code that will be good for the rest of September. I will also be walking you through how I built my block calendar frame that I made very early on in this channel. So if you guys are wondering how I pieced it together, you'll find out in this video. Upon opening the box, you can see it comes with a bunch of hot glue sticks. These glue sticks worked very nicely when I did my craft later in the afternoon. And in addition to the hot glue sticks, you also get some finger protectors in 3 different sizes. The large one fit nicely on my thumb, and I kind of have man hands for anyone curious about how this size is with your own. My hands are very large. I'm a very tall woman, so they do have other sizes though. They have the small, which fit perfectly on my pinky, and the medium-sized, which fit perfectly on my middle finger. So if you have more petite hands or even a more petite thumb, you should be able to get some coverage with these finger protectors. And then the box also obviously came with some instructions. I know some products don't give you anything, so this was nice. They even had some pictures in there, and just was very thorough in describing how to use this hot glue gun. Then we have the glue gun itself, as well as the power cord. Now, this cord does not charge your device and make this a cordless hot glue gun, but it does make it really nice to remove the hot glue gun from the charging station and use if you can't be tied to a wall or anything like that. I do have to note that the cord isn't extremely long, so you will probably have to be close to a wall while this is charging or warming up, but you can unplug this to do some of your projects, and the glue does stay hot for a pretty long period of time. So upon plugging in your hot glue gun, mine was already set to a heat setting, so that's why the light came on. If the heat setting is totally off, then you'll have no light. If it is on the lower temperature, which is I believe 80 volts, that is red, and then the higher temperature is a golden color. So it kind of helps you distinguish, if you're not looking at the little switch, which setting you have this heated at. And then 1 full stick goes in all the way, but it does recommend having 2 sticks in the hot glue gun, as you're using it, so that it can continue to press the first hot glue stick further in as you're doing your projects. This hot glue gun had been plugged in for about a little over 5 minutes. There was no dripping or anything like that. I did have to press the trigger a few times for the hot glue to come out, but when it came out, it worked very nicely. It wasn't very stringy, and it held my project together, perfectly fine. And all of these pieces that you're seeing here on the table were actually not glued yet. I just kind of laid them out how I wanted them glued, and I was able to glue all of them with this hot glue gun still unplugged from the wall. Towards the end of hot gluing these pieces together, the glue was getting a little cool, so that it made it harder for them to stick together, but it wasn't totally cooled off. So you can obviously get a lot done with this not being even plugged into the wall. And one thing that they note in the instructions is that towards the end of your project, you will want to unplug this anyways, just so that you can use up that hot glue that has already been heated and kind of avoid a bunch of extra dripping. It does warn that there will be some dripping as you either turn this off. In my case, it was when I plugged it back in. There was a little bit of drippage, but I didn't experience a lot of dripping during my actual creation. So I was really pleased about that. That way you're not wasting a bunch of hot glue. I also really like how this hot glue just stands up on the table and is not kind of relying on a little metal kick stand or something. That was one thing that I really appreciated about this hot glue gun, and I'm very pleased with it. If you are looking to get one of these for yourself, I can save you 5% with the code listed down below in the description box until the end of September. But let's go ahead and move on to how I built my little block calendar stand. So here I'm just showing you guys the clip from my previous video where I outlined the kind of combination of pieces that need to be assembled before finally putting together this main frame for the calendar. So obviously, I forgot to film me actually piecing everything together in the last one, and again, I apologize. Usually, I try to do a better job in my more recent crafts in showing you guys all the steps. So I went ahead and laid out all of these pieces again. This is before I even glued them together. I just wanted to make sure that I had enough blocks and that I had pieced everything together the way that I would have instructed you guys in a previous video. Then I used my hot glue gun. Again, it was unplugged. It was maybe plugged in for about 5 minutes or more, just kind of preheating. And I used my hot glue gun to secure all of these pieces together. If you want something a little bit more sturdy, I would recommend trying some type of wood glue. I haven't really had too many issues with using hot glue in the past, but I do know obviously that hot glue is not ideal for wood projects like these little Jenga pieces. So again, you can find some type of wood glue at even the Dollar Tree sells it, and it's worked pretty well for me in the past when I have decided to use that over hot glue. So again, I glued my sets of 3 together and then pieced together all of the little combinations that I mentioned before. And here we have all of the pieces kind of like stacked and glued together in their like piles. So I took those pieces and kind of assembled them in how I want to glue them next. So these aren't glued yet, but I have assembled these pieces in the next step that you guys want to do. We're going to take a lot of these main frame pieces and glue them together in a way where it kind of creates a checkerboard-like pattern. So in other words, like you don't want two horizontal Jenga squares glued next to each other. We want it to be like horizontal, vertical, and then we want it to alternate. So here's where we're going to be using those like groups of 5 and groups of 3 of the main frame pieces. So I just completed the square that will pretty much serve as the main frame for this calendar. Now I am gluing together the 2 pieces that will serve as our base, which will actually hold up that big square. And finally, the other piece that looks just like the one I'm doing right now will serve as the back side of the pocket that we're going to create for this calendar. So next we are going to glue our big, 3x3 square that we've created. We're going to glue this to one of our base pieces. And you want to try to get it like right in the center. If you're a little off, that's fine. That will leave some more room for our little blocks, but right in the center should be good. That way everything is kind of nice and balanced. And you're going to notice that on one side, the little squares of Jenga pieces match. So we have like vertical next to vertical and horizontal next to horizontal. That will be considered our back side. And our front side, we want our vertical pieces in the center to be next to the horizontal pieces on the base piece. So this will be considered our front side just to kind of keep this crisscrossing aesthetic. Next, I'm going to be gluing on my shelf, my little horizontal shelf, and this will be above the block calendar blocks and will hold up the dates, like the months and the days of the week. And we want to glue this a little bit above the bottom of this center row of squares that we've pieced together in this larger square. This will allow for space for our cubes to sit. And actually, I probably could have put this slightly higher just to leave some space for the blocks that will sit below it. Next, we're going to add on our top shelf, which is our 6 pieces of Jenga blocks glued together like in a long rectangle. And we're going to glue this so that it sits just below this top row of squares that we've pieced together, just to kind of keep the aesthetic and not like chop off half of a Jenga block or anything like that. So here we have the front side of our little calendar. You can see where we're going to put our date blocks. And now we're going to work on creating the little pocket that is in the back. So we're going to take this other, 2x3 rectangle that we've created with our Jenga block squares, and we will be attaching it to the back. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and glue on my side pieces. They actually fit like perfectly together and creates a nice flush look with the bottom rectangle. And as I mentioned before, we know that the back side of this frame has the kind of matching Jenga squares that we've created, where we have like vertical next to vertical and horizontal next to horizontal. And like I mentioned, like this doesn't really matter because we are creating a pocket and no one's going to see this anyways. So it's not really a big deal. But this is going to be the orientation that I'm doing for the back wall of this pocket, where we have horizontal tower blocks in the bottom center square so that it kind of contradicts with the vertical ones that are on the bottom piece of our frame. Then after putting the glue there, I just attached the last piece, and there you go. If you want, you can paint these pieces, you can stain them, you can leave them as is if you like the natural look. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the block assembly with the numbers for my previous tutorial. I think I did a pretty good job explaining what you needed to do there, but this time around, I hope that you guys have a better idea of how I constructed this frame. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.